Right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How you doing? It is Andrew Hawks here. You can call me Doc Drew. If you want to follow me, you can do that over at Instagram at Andrew Hawks Online and also TikTok, Andrew Hawks Online as well. Great to be here with you this morning. Of course, more coffee, more crypto. We're going to carry on that little delve into the DeFi space, the blockchain space, and talk a little bit more about cryptocurrency, about blockchain, about what that means, about some of the risks that are involved with it, some of the things you probably avoid, some of the strategies you could potentially follow. But basically, we're just going to have a bit of a chinwag and a chat and drink some coffee. Of course, I did tell you on day one it's decaf. I haven't drank caffeine in, well, actually, no. When we were going through Europe last year, I fell back into the hole of drinking coffee because it's what you do in Europe, right? Even though, for me, the coffee in Europe was terrible. Now, this may be biased. I may be biased, but the best coffee I think I've had in the world is actually in New Zealand. No, Ethiopia does have good coffee. Absolutely does have good coffee. But that was when I was drinking caffeine, so a little bit different. But I digress. So, good morning. It is great to be here with you. And I spent a lot of the day yesterday reflecting on the last week, the last month, the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. And it's been incredibly exciting for me and fulfilling as well. So last night I actually, the weekend, I think I told you, on the weekend I spoke at an event and I gave away a couple of tools that I've created to help people understand the space that we're in and also to help people track their business. And I got to do a little bit more training on that last night for our community, and that was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. And now I'm back here with you. I've been up. I've been out for my first workout for the day. I've done my morning routine. I've made my coffee, and now I'm here. So this is the next part of my day, and I look forward to it each and every day as well. I mean, it's only been, what's this, day 4, I think. Might be day, I think it's day 4. So, yeah, because it's Thursday, right? I started on Monday. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So I actually am really looking forward to this each and every day, which is very cool. But today, we're going to talk a little bit, we're going to delve further into crypto. And the whole point of this live session, or these live sessions, Drew's Daily, which, by the way, if you want to find out more about who I am, what I do, and who I help, then you can find that out over at drewsdaily.com. There's worksheets over there that you can download. There's a sovereign wealth kit. There's a DeFi demystify, or a DeFi checklist. So depending on which page you land on. Good morning, Sky. I hope you're well. So you can grab that. Just go over if you want either or the other. If you land on one page or the other, just message me and I will get the other one out to you, because they're both pretty powerful. They're both pretty valuable, I think. Again, that's drewsdaily.com. You can find that out. So I'm here just to create some awareness around the DeFi space, around the blockchain space. And I'm going live in a number of places. I'm going live on TikTok. I'm going live on Facebook in 2 places, my page and my personal profile. And I'm going live on YouTube as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, hey, how you doing? Let us know where you're calling in from as you jump in. But today, we really want to talk about risk and reward. You know, why strategy beats luck. So I'm sure you've heard it, and maybe you've even got experience in it. Maybe you've been around the traps long enough, and you've been into something and you've got burnt from it. You know, you've bought a coin. Probably a lot of people. I remember 2017. End of 2017, start of 2018. The end of 2017, we saw the first real all-time high of Bitcoin. It got up around $19,000, something like that. Might have even hit 20. And there was a lot. It was just after a halving. And during one of the bull runs, and there was a lot of hype around Bitcoin. And of course, there still is. And why not? It's the first coin, right? It's the first. It's the granddaddy of them all. Without Bitcoin, the rest of them wouldn't have come, because realistically, it was a proof of concept, wasn't it? So there was a guy in Australia that mortgaged his house. Now, yeah, he mortgaged his house and he put $100,000 into Bitcoin. So he bought 5 Bitcoin at 20,000 or thereabouts. And Bitcoin then proceeded to plummet back down to around $3,000. Now, the figures may or may not be exactly accurate. I'm trying to do this from memory. I haven't researched this. This is just from remembering the conversations. But it dropped down to $3,000 and everybody panicked. They're like, oh, that's it. Bitcoin's done. It's dead. Not fully understanding that there's cycles around these things. Clearly, and everything is cyclic. Even if we go back across the S&P 500, and again, guys, none of this is financial advice. This is just for education purposes, and it's designed to create some awareness around the space. But even if we go back to look at the S&P 500, and I got these figures reading one of Tony Robbins' books, right? Over the last 50 years, over the last 50 odd years, the S&P 500 has consistently delivered, on average, that doesn't mean to say it's this every year, sometimes it's higher, sometimes it's lower, but consistently returned on average 10% per annum. Now that you look at that at face value and you go, well, that's awesome, that's 10%. Yeah, but there was some years where it was 1, there was some years where it was 20, right? So everything has volatility to it, particularly more so, or should I say more so, inside of the Bitcoin, or sorry, the blockchain or the DeFi space. But there's measures that you can put in place for yourself to protect yourself. And I say particularly inside the blockchain space because clearly there's still a lot of cowboys. We're going to get that anyway. So, as I said, around the end of 2017 into 2018, Bitcoin was doing its thing. It went as high as 20. It dropped as low as 3, and it might even gone a little bit lower than that. So it is back in, but it hit 20, dropped to 3. That's why I've got this figures here. But everybody panicked here. Everybody panicked. Well, not everybody. The people with diamond hands, and if you ever hear that term, diamond hands, it means nothing can break them, because a diamond's pretty strong, right? It's pretty tough. Nothing can break them open. They're holding on to something really, really tight. And that's both a blessing and a curse. Inside of, in this context, it's a blessing, because if you've got diamond hands and can ride out those times when it's, when you're unsure, when the market's unsure, when the market's going, oh, I'm going to take a little bit of a dip here, and you hold on to it, when it inevitably comes out the other side, if the project's built on sound logic, has utility like we spoke about yesterday, and people can see it, then it's inevitably going to come back up, right? Ethereum's a good example. Bitcoin is a great example. It hit its all-time high of $108,000 just before Christmas last year. There was a lovely little run. Even XRP had a nice little run, went from 50 cents up to $3 something. But it had a run, and then it dropped back to as low as $79,000. That's 30%, just over 30, or just under 30% that it dropped. Now, a lot of people in that space would go, holy shit, I need to sell it now. I'm going to panic sell it because I don't want to lose any more, which is understandable from a logic brain, from an emotive brain. And the thing with cryptocurrency is that you need to be unattached. You need to show or have no emotion involved in it, because as soon as you start letting your emotions get involved, that's when you start making rash decisions. You've got to look at the facts. You've got to look at the balance. You've got to look at it and go, okay, this actually, excuse me, this actually is par for the course. It's going to go through these ebbs and flows. All I need to do is ride out the flows. Now, the saying goes that you only lose when you sell. So if you bought Bitcoin in 2018 or 2017 when it was $20,000 and it dropped to $3,000, excuse me, you only lost money if you sold it. And that's the trap that a lot of people fall into. And that was what we would call paper hands, because it's very weak. Paper's floppy, isn't it? That's what we'd call paper hands. So if you have diamond hands and you can hold through it, then you're going to ride out the other side. It's that simple. So movement inside of the blockchain is going to be a constant thing, particularly when we have bigger players involved, when there's people that have large amounts of it and know how to manipulate or want to manipulate the market for their own gain. Man, clearly. Oh yeah, I haven't cleared myself out well enough this morning. There's not even any sugar in there, so it's not that. But anyway, but they manipulate it for their own game. If they've got if they're a large holding or whatever, they can literally move the market. And You'd notice this yourself if you're involved in other blockchains that are potentially just getting started. This is generally how rug pulls happen, and we spoke a little bit about this yesterday with the Hawk Tour girl, is that there was one party that controlled a very large amount of the tokens, and this is this is something you need to look at when you're looking at projects. Okay, if I get into this project, how many tokens were, or coins, if it's on a native blockchain, but let's face it, most rug pulls are tokens because they're on another blockchain. Remember, we spoke about that yesterday too. If you haven't seen that, then you can go back and find yesterday's live. Or you can go to drewsdaily.com and find out more about it there as well. But they pre-mint an allocation of tokens. So they could call themselves, they could call themselves a foundation, right? They could call themselves whatever they like, but there's an allocated amount of coins that they've got. Or maybe that they've been to a VC, a venture capitalist, to raise funds to build their blockchain, if it's a coin, right? If they're doing it native, or to build a DApp on a blockchain like Ethereum, for like a Purdum, which is another one that's coming of age, so to speak. So they've received money from a VC, from a venture capitalist, or from multi venture capitalists to build. Now, I've been in that position. I've been a venture capitalist and given money to a DAO for it to be built, and I got rewarded handsomely for it. Sadly, that DAO, it didn't take off the way that they anticipated it for, but if it did, I would have been in a position to go, okay, I've actually got quite a large chunk. Not that I would have done this, but I've got because I believed in the project, I've got quite a large chunk of coins, which is generally what happens with VCs. Once liquidity, and we'll talk about liquidity in later episodes, but once liquidity comes into the blockchain, into the token, into the coin, if I've got a whole heap of coins, and when I say liquidity, it'll be a base pair of, say, USDT or USDC, and whatever that token or coin is. So coming back to our Hawk Tour token example, USDT paired with Hawk Tour, that's a pair. People are spending USDT to get that Hawk Tour from the market. Now me, if I'm holding Hawk Tour, or a VC that's holding Hawk Tour, is like, all right, there's now $1 million in this kitty, in this pool, and I've got them in 10 million tokens and they're 10 cents each, bang, I dump them into the market and I take the 10 million out. All of a sudden, there's no liquidity left in the pool. That means that everybody else who's holding token are left proverbially holding the baby. If you understand that, it's a little colloquialism, but that's essentially what happens. So they end up, everybody else, with one person or two people or three people with a lion's share of tokens get to manipulate that market because they've had 10 million, or 10 million, they've dumped it back in the market, they've taken the cash out of it, and they've plummeted the price. They literally control that, because if we're looking in a liquidity pool, which is slightly different to, it's a liquidity pool on a decentralized exchange is an automatic market maker, meaning that buying and selling of the token, it's like if I'm buying the token, that puts buy pressure on it. So it means the price of the token goes up. If I'm selling it, it puts sell pressure, means the price goes down. But the other side acts correlatingly, right? So it automatically makes the market. That's how that works. In a centralized exchange, it's slightly different. They have people manipulating the market. They literally have people called market makers that go out and buy and sell the token to move the price. It's not how it works on a DEX, but I digress. By doing that, if I have a large token, if I'm a VC holder, a VC, and have a large holding of tokens, I can manipulate the market. And if I'm in it just for the money, which most VCs are, you know, they want a return on their investment. That's what they're looking for. They'll dump their coins, particularly if they don't believe in the project, and get their money out. And maybe they'll only dump a portion of it, but that may cause a cascade. So they sell a portion of their money to recoup their initial capital, and the market sees that and reacts to it. It's like, holy shit, they're selling. That means that it could be bang. Everybody sells, it goes to zero, and lots of people lose. So you got to look at that. So there's volatility in it. It's natural. It's natural. It's just the way that it is. Yeah, liquidity pool on the DEX is fire, absolutely sky. So again, guys, if you want to know more about who I am, what I do, who I help, then you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. Again, there's a couple of worksheets over there, Sovereign Wealth worksheet, there's a DeFi, and of course, very, very soon, there'll be episodes there that you've missed that you can go and catch up on as well. That's probably just a couple of weeks away. But there's also, you'll be able to find out more soon from people who I've been assisting, and they can tell you a little bit about what I've done as well. Anyway, with that, so how you respond in those situations. You know, I'm going to go back a little bit of personal development stuff here. People often say, and you've probably heard Tony Robbins say this if you've ever been to his event, you know, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Hey, morning, Stilo. How you doing, man? How you do one thing is how you do everything. Well, that's utter bullshit. I do not believe or subscribe to that theory, because I do some things incredibly well and other things I just can't be bothered with. Think about that. I think that's one of the most disempowering things that's said in the personal development industry, because for the longest time, I made that mean that, oh, well, yeah, I am a little bit lazy in these places. That must mean I'm lazy everywhere. What utter bollocks. Utter bollocks. Anyway, I digress. So the reason I said that is because often when we're reactive to what the market is doing, coming back to our paper hands and diamond hands example before, when we're reactive to the market, then often we don't make the best choices for ourselves. You know, it's very easy to get caught up in FOMO, right? You know what FOMO is, don't you? The fear of missing out. How you respond to what is going on determines the outcome. Now, most people drown because they panic. Most people drown because they panic, or because they don't see the signs. And I'll tell you a little bit of a story about that, and you may well have heard it. It's certainly not an original one from me. But there was a dude that was literally drowning, right? He was flailing around in the water, and he couldn't really swim very well. And he said, you know, he was very gospel man, and he prayed and he said, Lord, I'm here, I'm drowning, I need your help. Can you please, please, please help me? I believe in you, Lord. I have the faith that you'll save me. And not long later, a dude turns up in a dinghy and says, matey, you all right? Can I help you out? Can I help you out? He goes, no, it's okay, it's okay. God will save me. The dude in the dinghy's like, okay, bro. And he rowed away. And about 10 minutes later, this dude is, he is going under. He is gonna die real soon. Chopper turns up, throws out a Jacob's ladder. Yeah, I'm pleased I remember that's what that was called. Jacob's ladder rolls down. And they say, pick up the ladder. We'll pick you out of the water. And the dude's there, he's drowning. He's almost going underwater. And he says, it's okay. God will save me. He said, okay, no worries. Good luck. And carried on. And minutes later, the guy finally succumbed to the fact that he couldn't swim, to the fact that the storm was getting more, and he drowned. And then he turns up at the pearly gates and he says, God, why have you forsaken me? Why did you let me die? I asked for your help. I had faith that you would help me. And God turned around and said to him, he said, bro, I sent you a dinghy. You sent it away. I sent you a helicopter. You sent it away. I cannot help those who do not want to help themselves. So faith is a two-way street. And I'm not a religious person, guys. But faith is a two-way street. I absolutely believe there's a universal power. I believe in the universe. And I believe that it's always listening. It always responds to the actions you take. So back to that, how you respond determines your outcome. Are you going to respond with diamond hands? Are you going to respond with paper hands? Are you going to sell in panic? Or are you going to carry on with conviction? No, I know what I've got. I'm not going to sell it. And I hold a particular coin that I've been told to sell hundreds of times. And it is a coin, it's not a token, it's built on its own native chain. Hundreds of times. And I still hold it. Why? Because I believe in the project. I know what I believe, where it's going and what function it's going to perform. I ain't getting rid of that. It could be a ticket to ride. So risk without strategy is just gambling. You've got to have a strategy in it. And look, I can speak to this as well. I remember 5 years ago, I was trading I got into trading, and I'm not recommending that everybody does this, but Binance had a really, really good trading system where you could hedge your bets, do whatever. And there's one particular coin that I was trading. I had a very leveraged long position on it, which means I was betting it was going to go up. Well, it went the other way. It went down, and it went down a long way, and I didn't have a stop loss in. I could have hedged that bet, and it was really a bet if you're looking at it that way. I could have hedged that and put a short against it, and I would have lost a minimal amount. And there's a big lesson in it, and I'll share it. I would have lost a minimal amount, but I didn't do it because I was greedy. I was like, no, but I'll lose. But if it goes this way, I'm going to make this much. Ah. Well, I lost big time. I lost about $27,000 overnight. Now, I'm not saying that to brag. That was a dumb thing, right? It was stupid because I was greedy. My strategy should have been to hedge that and go, okay, I'll take the loss. So it's better to take a small loss on a hedge than it is to take a big loss on a gamble. So just a little bit of a lesson. You've got to have a strategy in that. What's going to happen when you get to where and whatever. And I'm not advocating for trading. I'm not really a trader, clearly. But I did make a little bit of money in that time, which I'm still enjoying today. So there's a company out there at the moment, and I don't need to name it. They've been around since about April last year, and they've got their own coin. They've got their own coin. They are building their own blockchain. But there's about 80,000 people involved in it. It's only 80,000 people involved in it, and it's over 12 months old now. When you might go, well, 80,000 people, that's a big number. It is, but when you look at some other projects that are only 6 months old and they're closing on 60,000 people, you're like, okay, what's different? Well, the difference is the first project I spoke about is not listed on any exchanges. It doesn't have a white paper, which all tokens or coins must have white papers, right? So that they can see, or so that people can see what the utility of the token is for. Now, I know we haven't spoken much about white papers, and potentially we need to bring that into this so that people understand what they are, but it basically is the roadmap for the coin or for the token. It talks about the tokenomics, which is essentially the economics of the token. You know, how many are going to be minted or mined? How many, is there a burn protocol? What do they expect the token, not what they expect it'll go to, but what utility it performs so people can get a gauge of what it might do. That to me, because the white paper's coming, that to me is a little bit of a risk. Now, their saving grace, I believe, is they have another product that performs a different function, and that is their gimmick, if you like, that brings people in to get people into the other token coin, because it is going to have its own blockchain. But for me, and a friend of mine, a very, very good friend of mine, shared it with me, and I got involved with that. Not for the latter, not for the former part, not for the token, not for the community, because I don't believe it's growing fast enough, and I don't believe that it's doing what it's doing. Well, what they say it's doing, but it's still not listed on exchanges. It still doesn't have a white paper, so I'm in it for the gimmick that they sent out. And even that is not that huge. I did it more to help my friend out, or to give my friend some revenue. And I'm okay with that, because I'm okay with helping my friends in business. So there's often a lot of noise that comes around projects, and you've got to look at, and when I say noise, I'm talking about meme coins and things like that. If there's a project like Shiba Inu was a really good example. I touched on that a little bit yesterday. If you look at that, it doesn't take much for the creators of the token, and that Shiba Inu is absolutely token, doesn't take much for people to go out, for the creators of that to go out and find some influencers on in the blockchain space, not just an influencer on Instagram, but influencers in the blockchain space, and say, hey, we'll give you 1 million of these tokens if you go out and create some rah-rah around it. If you really push this token, you'll be looked after. And that comes back to something I said earlier. They're the ones that'll go, cool, we'll push this token, it'll go up, and bang, I'll cash out and I'll get my money, and everybody else be damned. So people dump money into those hyped up meme coins or whatever they are, without truly knowing the substance. There's no white paper behind it. They don't know who the development team is. It just seems like a good idea. And unfortunately, we are in that space. And I had this conversation yesterday. We've been pioneering in this space for, 15 years. Bitcoin, 16 years. Bitcoin was launched in 2009. And realistically, it was a few years, 3, 4, 5 years before it got traction. I mean, the first pizza, Laszlo sold 10,000 Bitcoin for pizza, 2010, 2011. So he created a use case, he created a market, which was awesome. But that's when it was still only a lot of computer geeks and nerds that held it at that point in time. But we're just coming out of that pioneering phase. We're now into the early adoption because there's still less than 10% of the world's population. So if you look at the law of diffusion of innovation, which is that little bell curve, which you got on this side here, you've got the pioneers, then you've got the early adopters, then you've got the late adopters, the early majority, the late majority, and the laggers, right? That's how that works. We are just in that early adoption phase. We're just getting there. So we should be past a lot, and we're starting to get into regulation as well, And as I said yesterday, I'm not necessarily a huge fan or advocate for regulation. A1, what am I talking about? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to anyone who's watching. You're here, so I must be talking to you. How you doing, bro? Hope you're well. So the law of diffusion of innovation says that we're in that early adoption phase now. Regulation's starting to come in, and it's making it a little bit easier for people to navigate the space. I'm not a huge fan of regulation. I'm not a huge fan of over-regulation, right? Because there's always going to be some form of it, and some of it's okay when it's designed to protect us, like truly protect us. I don't mean pretend to, because there's a lot of legislation around about that. Sky's just said something here in the chat on this side on Facebook that the story of Laszlo was interesting because he repeated that pattern. It wasn't just $10,000, 10,000 Bitcoin that he sold for pizza. It was a pattern that he continued. Whether it was pizza or something else that he was buying, he continued to do it. If he had held on to his Bitcoin, it would be worth over $8 billion today. It's interesting. So that could be a strategy. Holding could be a strategy for you too, because if you find a good project that has good legs, that has a good development team behind it, and you get in early enough, not even early enough, if you people still come to the party now with Bitcoin, will still make money. They will. But I also mentioned yesterday that for you to double your money in Bitcoin, it needs to go from 100 and whatever $1,000 it is right now to 200,000. Whereas if you get into one of the smaller projects that is worth $1, for example, or 50 cents, and you put the same amount of money in, let's say you put $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, again, not financial advice, $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, well, it needs to go to 200,000 for you to make another 10,000 and get 20,000 out. If you buy $10,000 of a token or a coin that's worth 50 cents, it's only got to go to $1 and you've doubled your money. There's more likelihood of that happening than there is Bitcoin going to 200. Well, over a shorter time frame. Now, if you want to know more about who I am, what I do, who I help, then you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. Go over there. There's worksheets and stuff that you can download, Sovereign Wealth Kit, the DeFi checklist and all that sort of thing. So I've said it, risk without strategy is just gambling. So you want to have something in place. Now, that could be an entry and an exit point. You might go, okay, I'm prepared to buy it at this point, and I'm prepared to exit at this point. Just a little window that you give yourself. Or it could be like, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to hold it, and then I'm going to stake it. And staking, we can get into staking in another video. I'm going to stake it so that it starts to provide me a bit of a return within the DeFi space. Now, there's somebody yesterday commented on a short and they went, oh yeah, but you can't, you still need a bank to take money out. No, you're not paying attention. DeFi means you don't need a bank. DeFi means you don't need a bank. You don't need to be controlled by them. You don't need to take your money back out through the bank. You can set yourself up with a decentralized debit card. Don't need a bank. You can even take money out from a hole in the wall if you want, from an ATM, if you want cash, if you want fiat. So you don't need a bank. That's another story. So one of my children is awake. The biggest one. Good morning, son. This is how you know it's real, right? This is life. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I just got it. There we go. Oh no. There, that's better. So if you don't know what the project does and who's behind it or how it makes money, you're not investing, you're guessing. And I've said that a few times, right? You want to know what the utility of the token is. I said it yesterday as well. It's important, and I'll keep re-saying it and rehashing it because you need to understand it. Doesn't matter what the project is. It does. You need to know what it is, who's behind it, how it makes money, and if it's true, if it's really on blockchain, you'll be able to see exactly what happens. They'll be able to explain it to you. They'll be able to show you and point you in the right direction to say, these are the smart contract protocols that run what we're doing. This is what the outcome of the project is. So that's something you just want to continue to look at. Now, DeFi isn't risk-free. It isn't risk-free. In fact, nothing is. Let's talk about risk for just a second. Risk is very real, but it's also very real in doing nothing at all. If you choose to go, I'm going to play it safe, I'm going to sit at home, I'm not going to go out, for one, you're depriving yourself of enjoying life, aren't you, for a start. But the second part of that is you're going to be in the same place in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, in 20 years' time, living probably with regret. So there is nothing risk-free in life, but the biggest risk in all is doing nothing at all. So DeFi isn't risk-free. There is absolutely risks involved with it. And again, it's not financial advice, guys. This is just education. This is just creating some awareness around this space. And if you want to find out more, obviously, go over to drewsdaily.com. You can register there. You can get Sovereign Wealth Kit. You can get the DeFi checklist. It's all there for you. Now imagine we're coming back to our example. Imagine you've got, the example we used the other day, imagine you've got $50,000 or $100,000 in a bank account. And it's sitting in a high interest saving account that's getting about 1.4%. Maybe it's getting 3%, maybe it's getting 4%. Hey, hell, maybe it's even getting 5%. But there is an invisible thief at that point in time that is still stealing your money. And that invisible thief is inflation. Because even if you're receiving 1.4 or even 5%, if inflation is sitting at 6%, you're going backwards, regardless, right? I'm just going to plug this in before we go flat. See, I had the same problem yesterday. You're going to go backwards. That's just how it is. And I think I'm going to have to bring this out too, because I'll just have this on standby in case. So there's that invisible thief of inflation that's going to continue to steal money from you. Whereas if you had it set up in DeFi, you can control that a little bit more. The percentages, the returns that you get. And again, this isn't advice. This is just my experience. This is what happens. This is what is out there in the marketplace right now for you to go and do your own research for. Do your own research, honestly. You always should. You shouldn't take anything that I say gospelly. You shouldn't take anything that anyone on the internet says gospelly. And you certainly shouldn't take anything that the government says gospelly. That's just my thoughts on the matter. But you feel like your money's sitting in the bank. You feel like you're safe. But realistically, you're not. You're being robbed blind. And while you're getting your measly rewards from the bank, they're making 10, 20% on the money that they're lending out. Because if you put $100,000 in the bank, they can lend out $1 million and even more now. And that's called fractional reserve lending. That's a completely different conversation. And in my mind, the biggest Ponzi scheme in the world. But traditional finance hides losses better. That's all. That's the only difference. We're talking about risk and reward, and we're talking about not risk-free. There's risk in being in the bank as well, because you're getting robbed slowly from that inflation. It's just hidden better by the bank or by society or by the government or whatever. In DeFi, you can see it. You know exactly where you are. You know what your balance sheet is. Everything's shown transparently on a blockchain. That is important for me because I want to know what's going on with I want to take some interest in what's happening with my finances. I want to take some interest in how it all works. because the better I understand it, and this is why I'm here, this is why I'm showing up to try and help and educate people. You take it or leave it, I don't care, it's up to you. It's not gonna change my life, right? But you should have an interest in what happens with your finances. And I don't just mean, oh, well, I got paid this much this week, so I've got to put this much away for saving. That's good, don't get me wrong, but it's probably not going to get you ahead. People aren't going to get wealthy just from savings alone. And if you love your job, that's awesome. I know plenty of people that don't. But if you love your job, that's great, but it's not going to set you free. I'm not saying go and give up your job. I'm saying start learning other skills. And it could be in the DeFi space. Cool. That's where the world's heading, so it makes sense. But learn other skills that you can leverage the income that you make from your job, if you truly love it, that you can put it into something else, so it's going to start making more for you. And I remember there was a book, it was written by Roger Hamilton, and it was the audio version was narrated by, his name escapes me right now. His wife and he run the Buy One, Give One Foundation, and I'm pretty sure they're in Singapore, out of Singapore. But the book was Wink and Grow Rich, and it had a great audio book that went with it, and I used to play it for my son when he was going to sleep when he was younger. It was when he was a toddler, well, not even a toddler, before he could walk. I'd put it on in his room because it was very soothing. And it talks about creating money taps. So it's about allocating some of those funds that are coming in from your JOB, if that's where you truly love and your passion is, that's awesome. But allocating some of those funds from your JOB to start creating separate money tabs. And I don't mean going out and creating multiple income streams. That's a completely different understanding. You can do that once you have amassed about a little bit of money. And I got that wrong for years and years and years. I thought, oh, well, got to go out and create multiple income streams. In fact, the first book I wrote, Rivers of Gold, How to Create Multiple Income Streams. I wrote that when I was broke, trying to make money from it. Well, that was dumb. That was dumb. And sadly, there's a lot of people in the world that do the same thing. It's true. It's true. And if I go back and look at it, it's a really narcissistic look at life. But anyway, that's another story entirely, and it's not here for today. So traditional finance just hides the losses better. At least in DeFi, you can see the movement. You can actually do something about it. That's the thing, you can do something about it. Oh, that's not working? Okay, I'll just pull back on here, or I'll move it to here, or I'll do whatever I need to do. Hey, awesome, Nick. Good to see you here. It's good to see so many people tuning in. Of course, 7 a.m. looks a bit like the sweet spot. That's when people are starting to jump on. But anyway, that's all good. So manage your risk like a pro. If a protocol's down, protocol goes down, like if a smart contract stops for whatever reason, that's okay, you're protected. Here's the thing, the beautiful thing with DeFi is that if it's done right, the funds are still in your wallet, or you've still got a representation of the funds in your wallet. Again, you still have to make sure that that there's substance behind the project. So I'll give you another example. There was another DAO that I joined a while ago, 3-4 years ago now, and of course I got the placeholder in my wallet, but the project didn't work. So I still had that, and I've still got it, but there's no liquidity in it. So you still have to look at that and go, okay, where's the project going? What's it doing? And look, I've learned a lot. I've learned by trial and error. I have learned by fire. It's true, but you get to benefit from those experiences, which is also good as well. Now, risk isn't eliminated, it's spread, right? It's planned for, it's anticipated. Professionals don't avoid risk, they respect it. And you can always mitigate your risk. Anytime you get involved with something, your job in life, if your goal is to create financial freedom for yourself, and again, not financial advice, guys, just experience and just for entertainment purposes and education purposes. And if you want to find out more, you can do so over at drewsdaily.com. Please go on over. I love making new friends. I love chatting with people, so we can connect there as well. But your number one job, realistically, if you are committed to wealth building, if you're committed to financial freedom, is to protect your capital. Protect your capital. It's simple. So that means if you've got $10,000 of capital and you put it into a project, you look at, okay, when is the soonest I can get my capital out, right? Now, a lot of people look at this in the wrong way, and I remember being involved in I think I said right from the start there's been a few things that I've been involved with that I wish I hadn't been involved with, but anyway, I remember somebody coming to me and saying, oh, yeah, I was involved in XYZ, and they ripped me off. They still owe me $240,000. It's like, oh, wow, that's no good. How much did you put in? Oh, I put in $10,000. Okay. And how much have you had out? Oh, I've had about $50,000 out. It's like, so it doesn't actually owe you anything. Oh, yeah, but I can see it sitting there and it's mine. Well, no, you got your capital out. You're not at a loss. You might have foregone the potential of it, but realistically, it wasn't ever really there to start with, was it? And there's some, because of that, I'm grateful for those experiences, because I can look at things now and go, nope, that one's going to blow up. And you know what? I've been right 9 times out of 10 about something blowing up. People have come to me and said, oh, you should look at this. No, this is why I believe it. What I believe will happen. Played out exactly as I said. Not 1, not 2, more than 3 opportunities people have brought me like that, and I've gone, nope. One of the opportunities that somebody brought me was an identical clone of one of the first programs I ever got, and I said to him, I said, bro, this is literally straight up a Ponzi. No, it's not. I was like, oh, okay. It was literally a clone. I could see it was the exact same thing. So those experiences gave me the wisdom, if you like, because you get wisdom from experience, to not look at those sort of things. But you've got to look at you've got to take a deep look and go, okay, what is the real substance behind this? What is the real product? And today's scope wasn't talking about Ponzi's or pyramids or anything like that, but realistically, if we're looking, what defines a pyramid or a Ponzi scheme is somebody coming in, paying their money to come in, and the person that brought them in benefiting the most from it, and there being no real product, whether it's physical or digital, it doesn't matter. A digital product is still a product that functions as it says it will. Used to be old advertising, right? Oh yeah, well, we're selling advertising. All you got to do is watch 5 ads a day. That's not a product. That's a gimmick. So just understand the difference. Now, I've already said the real risk is in doing nothing. It really is. The real risk is in doing nothing. Now, a couple reached out after a year of their lives, after watching a year of their lives. They wanted in, but they kept waiting for the right time. Now, I see this all the time. I see this all the time in projects that I've been involved with. People going, I'm just waiting for XYZ to happen. What, you're waiting for the sky to fall? Is that what you're waiting for? Is that what you're telling me here? Are you waiting for a miracle? You are the miracle. You are the one that creates everything. And I usually end my little sessions with that. You create everything in life, go and create something amazing. You create everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. If you're in a shitty location or a shitty position right now in life, guess what? You created it. It's not some external circumstance. It's not some external threat and somebody going, oh, well, they did this to me. No. You put yourself in the position where you allowed them to do it to you. You're responsible for 100% of the things that go on in your life. And people don't like to hear that. People don't like to hear that. Even less, they don't like to implement it. But it's true. You're responsible for everything you do in your life, everything that occurs, everything that happens. So now, this is what differentiates the people that have and the peoples that have not. If you can take that and go, okay, if I am responsible for everything that's happened in my life, if I've created it at some level, that ultimately means I can create something better. It ultimately means I can create life of abundance. I can create the freedom that I want. That's power. That's power. So the family that waited too long, they wanted him, but they were just waiting for the right time. When they finally tried to join, their savings had been evaporated because of that little thief called inflation. If we come back and hit on inflation again, and I said this, I think on day 1 or 2, if we look at what 10 kilos of gold would have brought us in 1920, it would have brought us a house. Sure, it was only about $6,000, $7,000, but it would have brought a house. And if we fast forward to now, to even 2020, 10 kilos of gold would have bought you a house. Yet the paper that we trade wouldn't, doesn't, couldn't. The same $6,000 in fiat in 1920 wouldn't even be a deposit in 2020. So 6,000, 7,000 in 1920 wouldn't even be a deposit for a house in 2020. How is it that gold's held its value, but paper hasn't? It's because of that invisible thief, inflation. So just something really, really important to know. Now, I've already said it. The riskiest thing you can do is nothing at all. Riskiest thing you can do is nothing at all. Again, guys, if you want to know more about me, about who I am, who I help, then you can do so over at drewsdaily.com. Rock on over there. Put in your details. We can have a chat if you want. That's cool. You can contact me outside of there. I'm pretty sure there's a WhatsApp number there that you can contact me on. And it is me. I do answer it. So the choice is yours with what you want to do in life, right? Don't get too tied up on the details. Live your life. Do what you want to do. Have fun. Seriously, have fun. Because you're a long time dead. A long time dead. The world's changing. We are in a changing world. And as I've said a number of times already, the riskiest thing you can do is nothing at all. There's opportunity abound. There's opportunity in front of you. There's opportunity behind you, believe it or not, too, in what you've learned. And the lessons that you've gleaned, take them, apply them. I've said it before, fail forward and fail faster. Because no successful person, successful people have ever done so or been so without failing at something first. It's pretty simple. Pretty simple, right? Anyway, we're just about the 3/4 hour mark. It's been great to be here with you this morning. I hope there's been some value in here for you this morning. Again, you can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. Man, maybe I should put on an American accent for that. You can find out more over at drewsdaily.com. That was a really poor Southern accent. But anyway, I'm a Kiwi, for those who don't know. And I'm currently traveling the world full-time with my family. Currently in Australia because we're here for an event. But I'm pretty sure we're heading stateside next, which is awesome. Hey, Jane, how you doing? I seen you was on. Oh, puppies. Love puppies. All right, so guys, it's been here. Great to be here with you. I'm almost finished my coffee. It's still warm, so it's not cold yet, which is great. I think we've got to go to the full hour to get a cold coffee. But guys, it's been great to be here with you. I'll be back around the same time tomorrow with the next installment of Drew's Daily. Again, delving into DeFi. It'll probably be more crypto and more coffee, or maybe it's more cake again tomorrow, I don't know. But we'll be back. And I look forward to spending more time with you, investing more time with you, because here's something you can think about investing and spending. When you spend something, you don't anticipate that you're going to get something back from it. You've spent it, it's gone. Like, you could spend money on this bottle of water, and I've spent it, I drink it, it's gone. Or I could invest in it and expect to get something back from it. Now, most people think investing is just about money. No, it's not. If you invest time with someone, like I've invested time with you this morning, you're going to get something back from it. You're going to get a takeaway. For me, one of my takeaways here is the energy that it gives me for the rest of the day. And I love that. I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for that. But you can spend time or you can invest time. It's up to you. If you invest time, you're going to get a return from it. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, and you're going to put yourself in a position where you can take advantage of something. Anyway, it's been great to be here with you. I'm rambling a little bit now. I'll be back again around the same time tomorrow. But until then, ka kite anō, which is I will see you again. He kone rā, goodbye. And remember, you create everything in your life. So you might as well go and create something freaking amazing. Anyway, huru.